Jared, my first question is about UFC. Now you compete in the best MMA promotion. Tell us, please, was the fighting at this promotion, I'm talking about UFC, dream since the beginning of your martial arts career? What's the difference between UFC and other mixed martial arts promotions?
You know, yeah, this is kind of where I wanted to be. This is where the top heavyweights, top fighters in the world are, and where the most pay and stuff is. Compared to like Legacy and C3 and other fight places, from what I've experienced myself, was you feel like a professional. The UFC makes you feel like a professional. They have somebody at the airport to pick you up. They have, everything is so organized when you get there. Everything's on time. It's on schedule. It's all uh, very set up professional. Everything about it just feels professional. And then on top of that, it's the most watched of all the fight organizations and stuff. And I think it's great if there's other organizations that can compete with the UFC. I think that's a good thing to have. I don't think anybody's at that level.
You're in the UFC since 2013, and you already fought seven times there. Could you please tell us how has changed the promotion and the fighters there during this period? What do you feel as a fighter? Do you feel now that you are more popular, the attitude from the fans and the other people in the industry has changed?
Yeah, definitely have since being with the UFC. It's a lot more exposure. There's a lot more big name fighters in the UFC. So, even like my fight coming up with Roy Nelson, that's everybody who's going to be watching Roy has to watch me now too. So I get that exposure as well because of how popular he is or how long he's been around the sport. So, uh, as far as that goes, it's been the UFC has been really good for me for building me up and getting that exposure out there and stuff. So
Do you like the attention from the media and fans, or it doesn't really matter for you and you concentrate on your fight itself?
yeah, pretty much. That's just I don't really care too much about the attention and stuff from the fans. It's I'm more into the competition of it, the competitiveness. I care about going out and competing and winning, and that's all that really matters to me. If people enjoy it, if people like me or want like me as their fighter, then that's great. If not, then I don't lose any sleep over it.
In your professional career record, there are wins in the distance and decision wins as well. As for you, is it important to show a tense fight in the octagon, win by a spectacular knockout, or for you the win is worth itself, not depending on the on the medal?
I think in this line of work, any win is good. Especially when you're in the UFC. If you're winning, then you're kind of keeping yourself relevant. But at the same time, it's nice if you can get finishes because that's what fans want to see. It's exciting. But at this level and stuff, it's most important to me to win. I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. So.
It's not very pleasant to talk about losses, but you have one loss in UFC versus Alexei Oleinik. How do you think? What was the main reason for the loss? Was it a lucky punch? How do you feel? Could you please tell us about the result? Is it possible to be otherwise than the loss?
Uh, he's very good, and I knew that going into that fight was, he had a lot of experience and stuff, and this is a heavyweight division. There's a lot of power in everybody's hands. There's a lot of weight behind every punch. So, when you go out there and you get into a firefight with your hands and it's just kind of a roll of the dice, and especially if my striking's not great. Uh, I go out there and I'm throwing back and forth with the guy. It's just kind of a roll of the dice of who's going to get hit first in the right spot, and he got no. That's just the way it goes. That's the heavyweight division, and that's UFC fighting.
Your last fight versus Stefan Struve was held on the biggest event in the UFC history, UFC 193. Could you please tell the memories from that event, your impressions? What do you have about this event? And my second question also concerned about Australian fans. Do you remember something special about them?
I just thought it was amazing. The venue, the Etihad Stadium. It was so massive and so big, just for the way walking out there was like insane. Whenever fight day tomorrow, And it was the longest walk I've ever seen to the ring. Walking all the way from basically one corner of a field to the middle, and it just seemed like the walk was taking forever to get out there. And I'll never forget that. There was a great experience. And the Australian fans were unbelievable. They're great. They're very appreciative of athletes and stuff. And when I was down and stuff, and even walking around the city after or whatever, people would come up and say such nice things. They're so appreciative of athletics and the athletes. They're very well educated on the sport. It was shocking.
My next question is about your opponent on UFC Fight Night 82. It will be Roy Nelson. Could you please share your thoughts about him, about your training camp for this fight?
It's a big fight for me. He's one of the veterans of the sport. He's been around a long time. He's got a lot of power in his hands. Everybody knows that. He's kind of a knockout guy. It's either he knocks you out, or you pretty much have to grind on him all the way through the fight. He's only been finished 2 times in his career. He's only been finished 1 time in the UFC, and it was by Mark Hunt. Arguably probably the hardest hitter in the UFC. So, my prediction is it's going to have to survive a couple of big punches, and it's going to be me grinding him out and getting him tired and putting him on the ground and dirty boxing him the whole time.
My last question about UFC Fight Night 82 as well. How do you think, will you be close to the championship fight after? And with whom do you want to face in the next fight?
I don't think too much about it, but I would assume that with a dominant win over Roy, I would think that it would give me close to being a 1, maybe 2 fights away from a title shot. I really don't know who I'd want to fight, as long as it was somebody else that was kind of in a similar position to get a title shot. If they were thinking, say Josh Barnett wins this weekend, if they were saying, oh well, Josh Barnett wins, he should get the next title shot, and then I win, I say, hey, well, maybe we should fight to see who gets the next title shot. So if it comes to that type of situation, then yeah, that's who I want to fight. But I'm fine with whoever. That's not my job. My job's to go out there and fight and try and win.